My name is Brad Garlinghouse. I'm the CEO of Ripple. Ripple has approximately 900 employees across our 15 offices worldwide. We were founded more than a decade ago with a mission to enable the Internet of Value, a world where money moves like information does today. We build software products that power cross-border payments, stablecoins, and digital custody. Ripple helps financial institutions reduce friction, unlock efficiencies, and serve their customers better. These are not abstract concepts. We work every day with banks that rely on our technology to deliver real results in the global economy. Ripple leverages the XRP ledger, a decentralized, battle-tested, open-source blockchain, as well as its native digital asset, XRP, to facilitate payments. XRP is built to enable fast, low-cost, and highly scalable transactions. From the start, Ripple made the deliberate choice to work with policymakers and regulators, not around them. We have taken a compliance-first approach, operating with over 60 payment, service, crypto, and money transmitter licenses domestically and globally. With regard to the topic of this hearing, we believe smart legislation should be based on several core principles. Consumers need protection from fraud and scams. Markets need proper oversight. Bad actors need to be kept in check. And innovation must thrive. A constructive and workable framework for digital assets and stablecoins that achieves these goals will expand access to financial markets, create jobs, strengthen the economy, and put the U.S. on the path to being a global blockchain and crypto leader. For the last decade, the legal and regulatory uncertainty surrounding crypto has prohibited meaningful progress in the U.S. At Ripple, we certainly saw firsthand how the lack of clear rules of the road can be weaponized to target good actors. In turn, the technology, jobs, and tax dollars that go with it are pushed offshore, reducing regulatory oversight and putting consumers at higher risk. This has severely harmed American businesses, investors, and most concerned consumers. Ripple was the tip of the spear for this regulation by enforcement campaign and was subject to an enforcement action in 2020. We were the first leading U.S. company to be sued by the SEC. We and many others understood that a loss here would be a death knell for the industry. Fortunately, after 4 years of a hard-fought legal battle, we prevailed. The court ruled in our favor on everything that mattered, including finding that the token XRP is not, in and of itself, a security. Our victory cleared the path for other market participants to fight back. Despite these headwinds, Ripple still prioritizes education and engagement with policymakers and regulators globally. For companies to have the confidence to continue doing business in the United States, Congress should focus on passing principled and smart legislation with these critical goals in mind. First, set clear jurisdictional boundaries for our main financial regulators. Second, establish pathways for companies to build in the U.S. without sacrificing investor or consumer protections. And third, ensure that the U.S. can be a global leader in crypto by taking full advantage of the benefits and efficiencies brought by digital assets and blockchain technologies. The U.S. possesses the world's deepest capital markets, the most advanced technical talent, and a spirit of innovation that has powered our nation since its founding. There is no reason we should not be the undisputed leader in digital assets and blockchain. Over 55 million Americans participate in the crypto economy today, equating to over a $3.3 trillion market cap. A smart regulatory framework for crypto market structure is essential to realize that future and is overdue. Speaking on behalf of the crypto industry, I urge you to prioritize the passage of market structure legislation for digital assets through this committee and the full Senate, to provide the rules and regulations needed to ensure that the U.S. becomes the crypto capital of the world. Once market structure legislation for digital assets becomes law in the United States, this will catalyze a new era of U.S. competitiveness and unlock efficiencies in financial transactions, dramatically helping consumers and businesses alike. Ripple hopes to see this become a reality, and we look forward to working with you to help make this happen.
Mr. Garlinghouse, I'm going to turn to you with a related question. We're trying to calibrate an appropriate regulatory framework here for the digital assets arena. One of the concerns I have is rather than engaging with technologists, with people in the industry who are actually at the cutting edge of innovation, lawmakers, regulators could actually try to force the digital assets markets into outdated regulatory frameworks. I think that would stifle innovation, that would put us at a great disadvantage. And as we think about it, there are certain factors that are unique to the digital assets ecosystem. And what factors would you emphasize that we focus on as we think about an appropriate regulatory framework moving forward?
Thank you, Senator. I think there are unique aspects that need to be thoughtful and applied potentially uniquely to any legislation around this. That said, I do think that where Mr. Massad and I disagree is that depending upon an SEC and CFTC to work together assumes good faith appointed officials in doing that. What we have seen previously is the SEC actually sowed confusion in the marketplace. They took contradictory positions. Under Chairman Gensler, they took actually contradictory positions in different court cases, which actually created more confusion. And so you had federal judges saying things like the SEC was being arbitrary and capricious in their application of the law. You had judges, federal judges saying that they were not following a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law. And so my concern in depending upon a unelected appointee to make those decisions is that it assumes a good faith actor. And I think what we saw in this most recent SEC was just a war against the industry at large without a consistent application of that law.
Well, I think we need to put in place a sufficient framework so that we don't have to rely on the goodwill of a particular regulator, but that it's clear to them our intentions. So thank you all. Appreciate the entire panel.
Mr. Garlinghouse, I'd like to just kind of turn to you. I mean, I just wanted to just get your thoughts on this. I mean, do you acknowledge what Mr. Levin's saying in terms of the illicit actors, the bad actors being able to utilize crypto right now? And, you know, I certainly appreciate the efforts that your company has made in terms of AML, but you know, we're still seeing these problems. Is that something that you see and recognize as well?
Ripple has always been a compliance-first company, and as I said in my early testimony, we have over 60 licenses around the world. That being said, I think anytime you see bad actors, they're looking for, as Mr. Levin said, whatever the easiest path is. They use cash, they use other assets. I've even read about them using gold.
Yeah.
So certainly they're also experimenting and trying to use digital assets. I think the good news has been, in many cases, they don't often understand how traceable and trackable that actually is. And it's more trackable than obviously cash.
Yeah, but we're still seeing the anonymization tools being utilized. And again, a lot of that is after the fact. The difficulty, I mean, we saw North Korea right in front of the world be able to hack and take billions of dollars. We can see them moving around, but we had difficulty to be able to actually intervene. I don't discount the fact that we're never going to be able to stop it all. We can't stop it with cash. I think the problem that I see is that I used to work on counter-terrorist financing, and the sheer scale of this is enormous. You know, it's an industrialization of North Korea's ability. They don't need to counterfeit anymore. They're finding ways to be able to do this. So I just hope that we can work together with industry, because I believe that industry doesn't want to have crypto be able to be utilized in this way. I worry about the trajectory, what it might do to evade sanctions and other types of efforts. And, this is something that, I hope that we can address, especially when we're talking about over $50 billion just last year being used for illicit actors in this space. So I hope that this is something we can build off from. We had some efforts in this in a bipartisan way in the Genius Act. And, I hope that we can make this a priority to make sure that we're trying to stop the terrorist groups, the cartels that we have talked about standing up against in so many different ways.